Welcome back to Ozarks Tonight. Steve Pokin of the Springfield News-Leader, kind enough to join us once again in the studio. Steve, thanks for being here, and I really enjoy the story we're talking about today. You were able to speak with a man from here in Springfield that has a disability. He's also a drummer, and he's going to a convention later in this year that brings in percussionists from all over the nation and the world.
Yeah, the man is Darren Williams, Jr., and he has been playing the drum. He's 37 now. He's been playing since the age of 8. He's in various bands. You might know him from Queen City Vinyl or The Final Piece. And drumming that's his love. But he also was born and has cerebral palsy. And to break that down, cerebral means of the brain, palsy means a weakness, and it affects your muscles, and is often caused by difficulties at birth. And he was deprived of oxygen for a while. What that means is that it's hard for him to move. His muscles are always tightening up, and over the years, as they contract, they've put a lot of pressure on his joints, and that has caused severe arthritis. But man, can he play the drums. He's got a studio in his house. He's got a rental home here in Springfield, equipment all over the place, and he records for other people. He receives disability because of his cerebral palsy. And what happened with Darren is that right before COVID hit, he started posting videos on YouTube and on Facebook of his drumming. You know, people were, he had some views, and then COVID hit, and a lot more people were staying home, and a lot more people were spending time online, and more people were watching. Say, hey, that's pretty cool. And then Jeff Houghton of the Mystery Hour got wind of it, and he posted it, and it exploded. And now he's gotten people watching, comments from across the country and across the world. So Darren was invited to go to an annual drummer and percussive instruments convention, and it's sponsored by the Percussive Arts Society. Of course, I knew very little about the Percussive Arts Society, but it's been around 60 years. It's a big deal. Mm-hmm. Darren knew about it, and he thought one day he'd like to go, and just kind of walk around or use his wheelchair and get around and check out things. And lo and behold, there is a professor who is having a panel discussion on drummers who have to overcome different challenges. She invited him. So he's going to be on a panel in November in Indianapolis. He's not sure. There are 2 or 3 other drummers. He's sure one has migraines, what it's like to play the drums when you got a migraine. He thinks that there's one drummer who's going to be there who had to have a hand amputated. So I don't know if they drum with one hand or if they have a prosthetic. And he is just, he is thrilled, he is honored. And he makes an interesting point, is that he can't wait to talk about the things that he does. He's on a medical regimen, but also playing of the drums, the constant is therapy for him. As motion is lotion. It helps him. He sets up his drums differently. He does not have full extension of his right arm. His back gives him problems. He's loosened the bass pedal, so he doesn't really have to hit it that hard. He amplifies the sounds so that he doesn't have to generate all that noise. So he does a lot of different things. But his point was he doesn't know, when he gives that panel in November, he doesn't know who else is going to be in the room. And he said what he has to say, and it makes perfect sense, might be of great help to a 70-year-old drummer, 80-year-old, who just had a hip replacement. Mm-hmm. It has some pain, has some difficulties with motion. In fact, Darren, he's 37, and he has already had a dozen major surgeries on his joints, and including at 25, he had his hip replaced. And so he has to deal with that issue, has to deal with pain. And he said with somebody with fibromyalgia, which is a widespread pain. So he thinks he's got something to offer, and he certainly does. And then we got over the excitement of, oh my goodness, yes, I'll go. This is great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, how am I going to pay for this? So he has been fundraising. He figured it would cost him $2,000, 4 nights in a hotel, airfare, Uber, and so he has. He's on Venmo at Handy Drummer. You can make a contribution there. It'll go towards his expenses for this and for other events. And some of it, if depending on how much he receives, he will return to charity, probably the Cerebral Palsy Foundation. So he's just excited about doing that. And he talks about, he grew up in the St. Louis area, and then he went to high school in Alton, Illinois. Mm-hmm. It's a river town in Illinois. And then he tells me, he said, yeah, and I was in the marching band. I said, no, wait a minute. How is it that you were in, explain that to me, the marching band? And he said, well, the drummers, when you're on the football field, you you don't do all the marching. You still got to go from the 40-yard line to the 40-yard line. And, then you play also the other percussions, the drums, the kettle drums, the timpani. He says, but then also I had marching parades. Well, how'd you do that? And he said, well, initially, they had the band, and then they have a truck with the banner, and I was in the back of the truck throwing out candy to people. But this is kind of cool, and he said, but the Alton band dads said that this kid's too good. We got to come up with something. So I don't fully understand it. They took some rebar, they modified his wheelchair so he could put his drum there or drums, and then they took turns. The band dads, whenever there's a parade, he always had somebody to push his wheelchair, and so he was able to perform with the marching band on main streets throughout that area.
Darren's got a really cool story, and this story, you guys went into a lot of detail on a lot of different things. When is it coming out in the News-Leader?
It's coming out tomorrow, which is an unusual day for my column, Saturday. It was supposed to come out today, but I had various computer problems on Friday. Very frustrating. But it's going to come out tomorrow, Saturday.
All right, it'll be there. Steve, thanks so much for coming in. We appreciate having you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, we'll be back with more Ozarks Tonight. Right after this, stay with us.